Hey everybody, it's Less inside the number. Take a look today at the Cube X Plus. This is a Windows tablet with an optional keyboard base that I've got here, and what's interesting about this one is that although it looks like a lot of the other cheap tablets that we typically look at here on the channel, this one is powered by a Core M3 Kaby Lake processor, so it is a lot faster than a $200 computer you might be looking at. But it's also twice as much it cost. About $400 or so, but really good performance out of this thing. If you want to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, this came in free of charge from gearbest.com. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, and no one is reviewing this content before it is posted. Now, I do want to give you a warning about these Chinese tablets, as you'll see it has Chinese on here right when you first boot it up. This is going to be something you're going to have a hard time finding service for if something were to go wrong. Now, Gearbest, of course, will probably help you out in the early stages of your ownership of it, but after that you're kind of on your own. So I always like to give a warning up front that you should really buy and use these at your own risk. Keep good backups and know that you may not always get the best support if something were to go wrong. Sometimes there is a price to be paid by paying the lowest price, as definitely is the case here and many other products and I review like this one. It's like to get those things out up front. Another thing to note on this is that it has a Chinese version of Windows installed that then has the English language pack installed over it, so it's activated, but you are getting a computer that's already been installed with an administrator account with no password, so who knows what else they put on there. So what I usually do is I pull the drivers off with a utility called Double Driver. I might do a video on this separately to see you can see what I do when I get these things, and I then install the US version of Windows. Even though it's not activated, it's going to work, at least for the purposes of this review. You can always buy a key later, and then I use Double Driver to put those drivers back on, because I'm always very mindful of trying to keep my computers as secure, I guess, as possible. I mean, there always could be something in those drivers that might be insecure, but I just like to know that I have an account on my machine that I installed versus one that came from the factories. Just a couple of warnings there that always come into play with these devices, and things you should be thinking about before you buy. Alright, so now that the warnings are the way, let's take a look at the hardware. We've got a Kaby Lake or M3 processor from Intel. This is the latest and greatest, this 7th generation chip, and what this one brings to the mix is better graphics performance and some improvements in video playback. See that when we look at gaming and coding a little later in the review. Pretty substantial improvements over the prior generation. Actually, you've got 4 GB of DDR3 RAM, and they configure this in dual channel configuration, which gives you the better performance than many of the other cheap computers we look at, which use a single channel of memory, and you'll see some effects of that when we look at some of the gaming in a little bit. 128 GB SSD. You've